Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
I know, he said he didn't want to do any more videos, but here he is.
Well, wait for the context.
Yeah.
Wait for the context and you'll understand why.
Yeah, because this is going to be a long one, so, either watch it in increments or make some popcorn and some iced tea, because we have a lot to cover here. A lot of news going on in JW land. And so we just wanted to let all of you know, some of this stuff. Now, first of all, I'm going to have to explain some things to put it in context. We have been working with a group in Pennsylvania, and they are associated with abuse survivors. In fact, some of them are abuse survivors, working with trying to get, the grand jury investigation and, investigation and all of that. And I've been doing this for a while. So, and we have lawyers, ex-lawyers, paralegals, investigators, and so I wanted to put this in context. I do know what I'm talking about because this will come into play later for context. But I want to thank Stephanie so much. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry for the loss of your brother. And it's really disturbing, when, you get the context of what's going on. But first of all, I want to mention that the Pennsylvania legislation has been trying to pass a bill. Specifically, Mark Rossi and Jim Gregory and a couple others, I believe, because Mark Rossi has been a legislator for 13 years in Pennsylvania, and he's an abuse survivor himself. I believe it was a Catholic church, if I remember correctly. And we did a video about this a while back,
Yeah.
and the clip of him basically ranting at the legislator, assembly, that they will not pass these bills. But he has been trying to get this bill passed to get rid of the clergy penitent privilege, basically hiding the abuse, and to get rid of the statute of limitations. And he's been working on this for 13 years. And so this group that I'm working with in Pennsylvania, mostly Pennsylvania, trying to get these bills passed. But I'm going to put a link down below to an article that Rossi is going to be leaving the Pennsylvania legislature for mental health. And Jim Gregory, he lost the primary, so he is going to be leaving also. So anyway, that is for context when I read Stephanie's email.
And sometimes this is why you can't get things done, because they only have short terms.
Yeah.
See, they only have short terms, 4 to 8 years, and if they lose their primary, everything that they've been working on pretty much gets 86'd.
Well, Mark Rossi's been trying to do this for 13 years. And I have to ask, why won't the Pennsylvania legislation pass these bills, instead of making it a political thing? And this is a bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans. So why can't they get this passed and care more about the abuse survivors than doing their political BS?
Well, there again, a lot of it has to do with the First Amendment, Constitution, freedom of religion. You have to make sure that when you draw those lines between political and religion, you have to be spot on. But because of that First Amendment, freedom of religion, cults have been able to get away with this abuse for centuries.
Yeah, and we haven't talked much about this, because we don't want to mess up any investigations or anything like that going on. So I asked Stephanie, is there anything you would like for me to mention in our video we are going to be doing? And this is what she says. What I'd love you to mention is let people know that this case involving Watchtower out of Maine, because there's a case going on either right now or just finished up in Maine, with Jehovah's Witnesses and an elder, I believe. In editing this, I decided to check and clarify what I just said in the video. And yes, the case is done. The former JW elder in northern Maine, his last name, I believe it's pronounced Fyans. It's Fyans, and I will put the link down below to the article I found. In February, they finished up the trial, and he was convicted of abusing 2 kids, and he got 20 years. So I just want to also mention again that it was Stephanie's elder brother that disfellowshipped the abuse survivor. And I'm going to bleep out her name because she deserves some peace now. So, back to the video. Let people know that the case involving Watchtower out of Maine involves at least one of child murders. It's all in the testimony. Probably can get transcripts if you like. And I will look into that and see, if I can get the information on that. It was my eldest brother who disfellowshipped for lying about her abuse and the murder she witnessed as a child. You might want to explain how these children disappear. One way is through the organization by their inaction. When my second brother ran away from home at the age of 15, the police were never notified, of course. He lived 30 years in mostly homeless situations and died of the heroin epidemic in 2017. Inaction. And she had sent me a link to an interview Tucker Carlson had done with Roseanne Barr. And so she says, inaction, just like Roseanne states, allows these crimes to continue and to snowball. We lived in a Norman Rockwell town because of our isolation within the New World Order cult. No one noticed my brother disappeared. Disturbing that a 15-year-old can just disappear and nobody cares. Not a teacher, policeman, and our elders sure as shit didn't care enough to make a morally upright decision. This is the 4th state and 6th attempt at this law Brian and I have been involved with. And she's talking about this legislation that is coming up again. We are hopeful for this go-around. Yes, and I wish you the best. And let's hope this legislation gets passed, because this really needs to start at the state's level. And also, she sent me a PDF, and she said this is no longer available on Amazon, but she did a short essay. I believe it's under 30 pages. So she gave me the PDF, and she said, share this with your viewers. And so I will put the link down below to my Dropbox. And thank you, Stephanie. I mean, this is refreshing that somebody is giving their hard work away for free. So we appreciate it. All right. Now, before I get into this, because, so many things to cover. Now, in Spain, and I want to thank Raphael very much. Yes, I was able to translate it into English. And I will put the link down below. You'll have to use Google Translate. The name of the article is Redun Association Urges Congress to include coercive persuasion of sex in the Penal Code. And 300,000 signatures will be presented to Congress to provide a solution for victims of sex who want to report. So this is in Spain. The Network for the Prevention of Sectarianism and Abuse of Weakness, Redun, will deliver this Thursday, which was yesterday for us, nearly 300,000 signatures to ask parliamentary groups to launch a bill to include the definition of coercive persuasion in an article of the Penal Code, trying to make it against the law. The aim is to give judges a tool that they have not had until now to be able to sentence when a victim reports psychological manipulation by a group, a leader, or any person. And we know Jehovah's Witnesses are guilty for this coercion.
They're not guilty of it. They're masters of it.
True.
Because there again, it all centers around fear. Control through fear.
According to the president of Redun, Dominguez, who spoke to RTVE.es, is coercive persuasion were included. It would be protection for all victims of the crime of violence, that is from gender violence to human trafficking, including abusive dynamics of pseudo-therapeutic groups, pyramidal groups, and different varieties of coercive groups. That would include Jehovah's Witnesses. Dominguez explained that in countries such as France, because we already know France has already passed this, Belgium, Luxembourg, and United Kingdom, coercive persuasion and abusive weakness in any type of social relationship are already included in their legislation. She also stressed that Spain needs legal regulation that criminalizes in an aggravated manner the promotion, constitution, organization, and coordination or direction of a coercive organization. Thus, they have the support of more associations and groups such as the Association of Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses, Psychologists Without Borders, and the family of Patricia Aguilar, a Spanish woman recruited by a sect in Peru, the case for which the collection of signatures began. So you can go on to read this, and we're happy to hear that Spain is adding to the countries now that will add coercion to their penal code. I can't talk today for some reason.
Well, there again, I gotta ask, who defines what coercion is? Because obviously, okay, there's things going on in the political world right now, and not too long ago we saw a famous ex-Moonie on MSNBC convincing them that Trump is a cult leader. And then on Fox News, The Five, when they played that little clip of Steve Hassan describing that Trump was a cult leader, everybody on The Five said, "Who is this guy?"
They didn't even know.
They didn't even have a clue who Steve Hassan was. But here's the biggest thing. We all know that he gave us the BITE model: behavior, information, thought, and emotion. How is it that Steve Hassan did not use his own BITE model to show that Trump was a cult leader? No, he just blurted it out because that's what MSNBC wanted, so that they could coerce everybody all of their viewers that Trump is a cult leader. So who defines what coercion truly is? This is maddening, people. This is maddening, because not only are they using these words, all inclusive, whatever you want to use, how do you define it? And then how do you apply that definition to everybody around the world? Because everybody's going to have a different take on what coercion means.
And also, our daughter was a sociology major when she went to college. And she said the first thing we learned in class was that everything in culture is a cult. So, and we know they all use coercion.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay, now, Denmark. Haven't heard anything in Denmark, country of Denmark, for a while. I'll put the link down below to this. You will have to use Google Translate again. After supervision case, now Jehovah's Witnesses react. Jehovah's Witnesses are surprised by the supervision case the church minister has initiated against them. Yeah. Are you a member of Jehovah's Witnesses and have input on the subject? Then Electra Blada would love to hear from you. Contact the journalist here. On Wednesday, it emerged that the minister of the church is initiating an oversight case against Jehovah's Witnesses. This is happening after Extra Bladet has in recent weeks described how the recognized religious community's secret court works. Their judicial hearings.
Oh, excuse me. Coercion.
Yeah.
Coercion. See? How do you define that? Because we can all look at that and say, yep, this is coercion. But you see the Jehovah's Witnesses and it's like, no, this is a loving provision from Almighty God Jehovah.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on.
Yeah. So they go on to explain, a little bit about how Jehovah's inner workings are, their kangaroo courts. So this is interesting also. Now, to our friend Danny. Oh my goodness. Danny, we're speechless. I mean, I'm sorry, we don't mean to laugh, but I mean, it's just so absurd of what is happening to you that it's like people are losing their minds. That's the only thing I can think of, because these people have no clue. Totally delusional. Now, I'm going to put the link down below to, I think, one of the best videos of his we watched. It was part 2. Now, what has happened is Danny DeHake of the Crypto Ponzi, and we did a podcast with him last year, I think it was, or something like that. Well, he was invited to speak at a anti-cult conference, the Decult conference, here next month. Okay, everything was set up. He was advertised as one of the speakers. He even had an interview set up with a journalist. And lo and behold, out of the blue, they remove him. They reject him and says he can't do it.
I originally got roped into it. Well, I got roped into being a speaker at the Decult conference, which I was really pleased about. I met up with Dennis a couple of weeks earlier, or a week earlier from this video. Everything was dandy, and I think I'm going to be able to answer questions that were presented in front of me. I'm a professional speaker. I've spoken in different places before, and I've always done quite well at it. And I think somebody with my experience of leaving a cult and knowing what it's like, blah, 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 I just couldn't believe when I got a phone call yesterday telling me that they've had a complaint about me as a speaker. And I said, what? What is it? And who complained? Oh, we can't tell you that, but we've decided not to have you as a speaker. So I got on the phone to Dennis and I said, what's the story? I said, you haven't even told me why I'm not going to be a speaker. When you've publicized the fact, I haven't hidden anything I've done. I'm very transparent. And he gave me a couple of things where I thought, that's come from the from people who are involved in the Jehovah's Witness organization. I said, oh my goodness, if you're going to listen to them, you've got to give me the right of reply to actually explain what I'm being accused of. But they'd already decided to cut me out of the conference. And I said, that's not good enough. I haven't had a chance to explain my side of it.
And he's been trying for days now to find out what the heck he did. And I recommend you go watch this 40-minute video he did, because he's in a Zoom meeting with the coordinators of this conference. And it's disturbing because they don't have a clue. And at one point, this is what got Mike. At one point, she says that, kind of hinting that Danny's maybe controversial and Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't want to hear him. But what about all the other XJWs that are going to be on the panel?
This is why this is maddening. Because you've got this person, this woman, making a statement that, Danny is a little controversial, and, they want to be able to reach basically the greater audience of Jehovah's Witnesses. This is how uninformed these people are, trying to put together these ex-cults, especially when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, in order to be part of this, you have to buy a ticket to go to this, right?
If you want to join their meeting, their conference, it costs to go to this conference.
Hey, lady, there's not one damn Jehovah Witness in this world that's going to pay to go to your ex-cult conference, because Jehovah's Witnesses don't have that mindset, because they don't believe they're in a cult.
Right?
They don't believe it. This is how uninformed you people are, and whoever the Jehovah Witness is that badmouths Danny, you should ask them to inform you better, because it's so easy to debunk that you guys yourself are acting as a cult.
Well, I was going to say that Decult conference is now being exposed by Danny.
Yep.
Because for the very things they're fighting against cults of doing, they're doing to him.
Exactly.
Not only that, but now the journalist that was going to interview him, he has to tell him what's going on. But he gave me permission to read his emails, and I'm not going to read all of these, but I just want to hit a few highlights.
So when you ex-Jehovah's Witnesses can't figure out on your own why we can't come together to go after Watchtower, this is part of the reason. And bear in mind, this isn't the first and only time that Kim and I have come across stuff like this, because a little while back, Mark Latham was the vice president of OUR, right? He had an interview set up with a news reporter, and an ex-Jehovah's Witness shut that down by bad-mouthing Mark Latham. If you can't figure out why we can't get together to accomplish something, this is the reason why, because there's too many damn egos getting in the way.
Okay, now this is what Danny says in his email. This decision was made after members of the ex-Jehovah's Witness community raised concerns about my inclusion in the event, resulting in Decult's decision to retract my speaking slot. Now, like I said, there's other ex-JWs on the panel. So why was he singled out? Well, my personal humble opinion is I have a pretty good idea.
So do I.
Of who was on this panel that got him rejected. And all I'm going to say is in this part 2 that he mentioned, the ones in charge, the coordinators of this conference, mentioned one specific ex-JW that is overseeing the ex-JW panel.
Name.
Yeah, they mentioned one name.
One name. Pay attention.
That you can be controversial and all of that, but everything that's sort of where, I mean, this was many months ago, and we are specifically having this JDUP panel on the first day as well, because we want to reach the wider JDUP community out there. If this was our 3rd or 4th conference, I think I would say, come on, let's have Danny in the mix. There's nothing, people know what we're doing, people know who we are. We're quite vulnerable. I mean, Larrica puts controversial. There are other speakers. We have to brace ourselves, and a lot of people might not like who we have on board. And in this case, there were just too many local reasons as well. And we just, we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Like, here's someone who's strong opinions. Yes, bring it on, right? We're quite vulnerable. I mean, Larrica puts controversial. There are other speakers. We have to brace ourselves, and a lot of people might not like who we have on board.
Yeah. The reasoning? Concerns that my participation would keep a large portion of the ex-JW community from attending. While I understand the need to consider the audience comfort and safety, I believe the situation has been handled unfairly, as no one from Decult approached me directly to hear my side of the story. And he does a video speaking with Dennis Parker, one of the event co-organizers, via Zoom, where I express my frustration and disbelief at how this has unfolded. I've always aimed to use my platform to expose harmful organizations like Jehovah's Witnesses, raising awareness of cult practices and helping people break free from controlling environments, aka coercion.
Well, here again, that's also self-assuming that, Danny DeHeck is going to, make a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses not want to come in. Oh, you mean you're going to lose a lot of money? I got news for you people once again. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses aren't that interested in this stuff either. Why? Because they watch channels like Kim and I, and we can explain better the mindset of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, especially when you've got people who have never been Jehovah's Witnesses and don't understand, the coercion and inner working.
Half of them can't even identify the penis on the back of the songbook without it being pointed out.
Going on with Danny's email. And we're so sorry this has happened with you, Danny, and thank you for allowing us to help you expose this. Okay, going on. Yet, despite this, more recent accusations have come forward that I've never had a chance to address with the organizers. It feels like an entire community has made a decision about me based on misinformation, and I wasn't even given a platform to defend myself. Believe me, sweetie, we know, because there's been some in this community that just keep putting misinformation about us out there.
Yeah.
And no one will come and ask us personally, hey, is this true?
Well, let's just reflect back several years ago when we got that 501c3 and Lloyd Evans discovered that. He told the whole community that Mike and Kim are starting their own church because they got a 501c3. That was misinformation. Yes, we did have a 501c3, but we weren't starting a church. There are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are out here to work completely against us moving forward.
Yeah. And I'll get into that in just a minute.
And this is why I've had it up to here with this stuff.
All right. Now, Danny, I was emailing back and forth, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry I kept you up, Danny. Okay, so I asked him. I said I went to their website to see how much it would cost to go to this conference, because Danny shared some personal feelings with me and concerns that this might all be about money, and how one of the event coordinators works for a private hospital and might be doing some fundraising. Okay, and he says, I believe it costs $100 per person to attend.
Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are not going to pony up that kind of money because they already know the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, and Dennis mentioned he thinks it's too cheap. So they think that's too cheap.
They want more.
Yeah. So far, Dennis said he sold 150 tickets with 50 more to go. He's found more because he's digging. Because that's what he does.
That's what he does.
He exposes these Ponzi schemes. He's been in so many articles for doing this. So he knows how to do research. I also found a video where they managed to raise $10,000 to create a professional video series to document everything. Claiming to make $10,000 with just 100 donors. The more I research this lady, the more I realize she's been on multiple podcasts, some of the worst I've ever seen. However, she's been on at least 50 of them to promote her book. And this is why we rarely promote any books, especially, if they're for money. Because then everybody is like, oh, well, you need to promote my book or, my merchandise or something. And that's why we just choose not to. But Stephanie, she was giving hers PDF, wanted me to share it with everybody for free. So, yes, thank you, Stephanie.
That's right.
Because very few will share, their stuff for free. All right. He says, I believe she's just trying to sell her bloody book. I've just notified all the newspapers I can in New Zealand and also television reporters. So do you see how this can backfire on them?
That's right.
Okay.
See, this is what I've said before, and I'll say it again. YouTube is the game changer.
Yeah. Now he copied me in the email to the newsrooms, and I'm not going to read all of this, but he says, I have recordings of the meetings I've had with them. And like I said, I will put the link down below to the most important thing. Mike and I were just floored of what these morons were saying and how he was being treated. And Danny at one point even says, I feel like I'm in a judicial committee.
Well, it's awful funny that this group of people think that they're now experts on, cult, coercion, all this other stuff, and they couldn't even recognize that they were doing exactly the same thing as cults do. Just like Steve, Hassan couldn't even realize that when it came to Trump, he couldn't even apply his own bike model to him.
And what we noticed throughout the Zoom meeting is they were gaslighting Danny and deflecting.
They
would not come out and tell him the truth. Okay?
Red flag, people.
Yeah. So, I have recordings of the meetings I've had with them, and if you take the time to review them, you'll see how poorly I've been treated, especially as someone who could be considered vulnerable. I'm also concerned that others attending this event may be triggered or fall into negative thinking, and I don't know how to pronounce her name, as Anke Richter, the head organizer, seems very insensitive and focused on her own agenda. I personally believe that she is focused on boosting her book sales and finding ways to drum up business for health professionals. Because they
Well-
advertise all these psychologists and stuff that are going to be at this conference.
How is it any different than the Open Minds Foundation become a collector of ex-Jehovah Witness books, such as, I don't know, The Reluctant Apostate and the said person making a play for Christ as a conscience and slapping his label on the back side of it? It's all about promoting books for these people.
And propaganda.
And propaganda, exactly.
Okay, after watching these videos, you'll see that is exactly what they claim the main agenda of their conference is. And they admit it in their Zoom meeting with Danny. I feel like they are using cult survivors to further their own agenda. Thank you, Danny, so much for everything. I know this is difficult going through, but, you know, the thing is we can recognize those who truly care and are sick of abuse survivors being used and taken advantage of
Right.
to other people's agenda.
Right.
And
It's just this simple.
yeah,
Open your eyes and research the manipulating tactics of cult wannabe leaders, because they all use the same playbook to do it. But once you're educated on what gaslighting is, what a straw man argument is, what throwing a red herring is, and what deflecting is, you can see precisely who these people are.
yeah. And along those lines, I had mentioned in a video, I believe a week or two ago, how someone was saying that YouTube videos, you know, aren't that important. And
if these people on that Decult conference watch this, they're going to see how important YouTube videos now are.
yeah. But I need to give a little bit of context because I'm going to go further into this. Someone contacted us, and they contacted what they called all the top people in the community, all the top advocates in the XJW community. And they wanted everybody to join together as a team to do this group, and they wanted all of us to start XJW associations like what Spain has done. I think it's a really great idea, and you know, whoever can do that, wonderful. But first I want to say that, remember, I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm helping the Pennsylvania group and have a lot of other things going on behind the scenes. So, you know, I'm really limited on time. Well, and I have a lot of experience. We have been associated with groups for 12 years now of wanting to do this very thing.
And watch most of them fall flat on their face, too.
Yeah, or something comes up and, you know, it's shut all down. And like I said, I have nothing against these organizations, associations, whatever. But I do have a little bit of experience with this, and I also am in contact with ex-lawyers, you know, retired lawyers, current lawyers, paralegals, investigators, you name it. But this person wanted us to read this statement and encourage everybody to start these association groups. Well, we know not everybody can do that because there's a lot of paperwork here in the United States. And I was trying to tell this person that here in the United States, we went through the, you know, nonprofit stuff. And she says, well, you don't need to, you know, get a nonprofit. You don't have to do this professionally. We can become lobbyists, you know, non-professional lobbyists. Okay, so wanting to start this lobbyist group. And she was wanting us to flood the Pennsylvania attorney, Michelle Henry's office, with emails and letters demanding that the governing body be charged criminally. Ideally, that is a wonderful idea. But there's a little something in this country. Oh, and this person isn't in the United States, so they probably don't understand the little thing called jurisdiction.
Well, neither does Lloyd.
Jurisdiction can only be charged criminally in the state where the person resides. So if you want to charge the governing body criminally, then you have to go to the state where they reside. And I don't know if they all reside in New York or what. So you would have to get the state attorney in New York. So flooding the Pennsylvania attorney's office, I made the comment, this is going to piss them off.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't have time to go through all of these emails and letters when this huge investigation is going on in Pennsylvania. Plus, they don't have jurisdiction over the governing body. Okay? So, the only way you can go after the governing body is if you get federal charges. So, you know, I'm trying to help the group to understand this, and she kept sending me private emails saying I was fighting and arguing with her and picking a fight with her. No, I wasn't. I was trying to help everybody understand that there are legal ways to go through this. And we're already working on this in other states.
See, and part of the problem is when ex-Jehovah's Witnesses try to do this stuff, like they've done in the past, they don't know how to check their egos at the door.
Well, they may possibly have a savior complex that they're going to bring down Watchtower and
Yeah.
get the governing body charged criminally.
12 years of hearing this same thing. I know how to do it. Mike and Kim, this is how you do it.
Well,
It don't work that way.
Well, look at even someone in Australia claims to have taken the governing body to court.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. It did not even make it to court. It was thrown out because there's no jurisdiction. All right. So I'm going to read parts of her email and make some comments.
Is this where you want me to be quiet now?
Yeah, no
Okay.
ranting and raving.
All right.
Because he hasn't heard all this and it's going to
Yeah.
make him angry. I have no time for patience for nonsense. So apparently me trying to help is nonsense.
Nonsense, yeah.
You kept coming back with contradictions and telling me that I'm wrong. Okay, I never said they were wrong. I said, in the United States here, and I nicely explained, I never said anybody was wrong. Okay? That I am wrong, that you are right, that you know better, that you all have been doing this for years, and that they want evidence to put pedophiles away. Yeah, you do have to have evidence in this country because you're innocent until proven guilty, at least in most cases. Okay? Now this was the shocker that's gonna make him mad. What results do you have from all this work that you have done, all done for years?
Well, it's just like Lloyd Evans years ago. I've got 50,000 subscribers. You've only got 20,000. So who's right?
Well, apparently I've only been sitting on my ass eating bonbons
Yeah.
and haven't accomplished anything. I don't have any results.
See, here's the thing. This is what sets Kim and I apart from a whole lot of other YouTubers. We don't need to toot our horns and brag about our accomplishments like a Lloyd Evans might, or somebody on that level. We don't need to do that to put context into our lives personally. We're not here to get our shoulders rubbed and get praised like nobody's business. That's not what being an activist is all about, because the Bible says don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, or vice versa. That's not who we are. But apparently some people want to use that type of thing and shove it back down our throats. Welcome to ex-Jehovah Witness world.
Now, I will admit that by this point I was pretty upset, especially when they say something like this, because to be honest, how can you possibly know everything we have been doing for all these years? How can you possibly know what we have accomplished and the results we have had all these years? Do you know about the hours we have spent on the phone or in Skype talking to someone who's about ready to commit suicide? Sometimes till wee hours of the night? Do you possibly know any of that?
No.
You know what? I don't have to defend myself because I know the results. that we have had all these years. I have had phone calls from lawyers, like I mentioned before. I have a thank you email here from the Zalkin Law Firm because we helped them out quite a bit and sent them books that they couldn't find. We took it out of our personal library. So we don't have those books anymore because we sent it to them because it was more important to give it to them.
Can I just say something about a public thing? Ask yourselves why Watchtower changed that songbook with the penis on the back. We did that. And then when they changed the back cover, I turned it around. I says, well, what about the angry lady on the front? Well, guess what? They don't even have that anymore. They just use a plain gray covered songbook. Again, we don't toot our own horn like this because we don't need this in our lives.
Yeah. And you know what? I can say the same thing. I don't have the patience and time and for this nonsense.
And that's why I'm where I'm at, because I don't have patience for this any longer. Especially after 12 years of putting up with the same crap over and over again, because people won't learn.
Now, I will admit that I told her, I said, you're being very defensive and prickly like a cactus. I will admit, I said that.
Because it's true.
And this was at the end of her email. I was hoping to find like-minded people among you who would share my feelings and message, but that was not the response I got from you. I only got the response I mentioned. Yeah, that I was picking a fight with her and contradicting her. Whatever. I am not defensive and prickly. We just don't click. You keep rubbing me the wrong way. I am more than patient and understanding, but when it isn't working out, it's time to go our separate ways. Adios, muchacho. And it's funny because she keeps sending me emails now with stuff, like read this in a video and do this and yes, keep sending me emails. I'm ignoring all of them. Hey, I will admit to saying things that I actually said.
Well, here, again, guys, this is the level of frustration behind the scenes that a lot of you don't see. The amount of nonsense we have to put up with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses thinking that they know how to take down Watchtower. And it's not just this one in particular. There's another guy in Illinois who tried to pull the same crap.
We won't get into him.
No.
Okay, and I want to thank Orel. I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to remember to read this in a video. I forgot to tell you that one male JW from the JW family is elder or full-time pioneer committed suicide a few weeks ago in the Croatian Bethel. He jumped in near the river in Zagreb, where is also Croatian Bethel. He was also speaker on last convention in Zagreb and have a talk, but now he is dead. So sorry to hear about Atlantis. Take care, my dear friends. So apparently a JW has jumped in the river in Zagreb, Croatia, and has committed suicide. But thank you, RL, for the email and letting us know.
And these are the sad results of being in a cult, in a religious cult. There's political cults, there's medical cults.
And the thing is this isn't the first suicide that has happened at Bethel.
Right.
We did videos years ago about someone jumping off the top of Watchtower in Brooklyn. We've done videos about someone committed suicide in the Florida, it was the Kingdom Evangelizer School there in Florida, where Gene Fields is the teacher. Yeah. They had a strange death that we heard was ruled a suicide there at that complex. So, how many more have committed suicide that we don't hear about?
Yeah. It's just amazing to me how many people start these, we got to expose cults, we got to expose this, and they don't sit down and thoroughly understand the mechanisms behind it and the mindset behind these peoples. Just referring back, to me, to make a statement that they want to, kind of secretly get rid of Danny DeHake as a speaker because, Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be less likely to, buy a ticket, or even ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Shows you how uninformed these people really are, in particular about Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, my personal opinion is I think the person that is in charge of the panel of the ex-JWs found out that he did a podcast with us and got rid of him. Mm-hmm. Found out we were friends and got rid of him. So anyway, that is all I have for news and stuff right now. I know it's getting to be time for elders' letters, so hopefully we'll be able to get those and do a video. And for those of you that want to be on the nail and coffin, just email me your initials or first names at kimmymbrooks@gmail.com, because I am making a new list and we will do a nail and coffin probably in October.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here reflecting back a little bit on that email you read about they want to go after Watchtower and, make the governing body responsible. That thought just popped in my mind. Think about this, friends. How many of you have seen the commercial on TV? If you use the product Johnson & Johnson baby powder and you got cancer, there's a fund set aside for you. How many of you have seen the commercials on TV? If you use asbestos, the $30 billion fund has been set aside.
Or Zantac.
Or Zantac now. How many of you have seen the commercials? If you use the product Weed Be Gone, Roundup, and you got this type of cancer, that type of cancer, there's been a fund set as. How many of those companies are still in existence today? How many of those CEOs are probably still sitting in that high seat of authority? You can't take down these corporations like some of you people think you can bring down Watchtower, because it's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. The best anybody can expect at this point in time is that they're going to have billions set aside for the victims, but the organization, just like Johnson & Johnson, is still going to exist.
Well, I think that's why they're moving money to these foreign countries,
right,
and their asset management companies in Ireland.
Meanie, tickle, parson. They all see the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah, but what do we know?
What do we know? Exactly. What do we know? Well, this is the same type of thing that we got years ago when I blurted out that the Watchtower Bible Tract Society and Jehovah's Witnesses practice legalized human sacrifice. Let me ask you, what was the reaction of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses at that time? The Watchtower and Bible Tract Society practices legalized human sacrifice, and they use the Bible to do it.
The no blood.
The no blood policy. They legalized human sacrifice, hiding behind that book.
Well, all I can say is I wish I had $1 for every person that called you crazy and a conspiracy nutter.
Well, it wasn't just that. Behind the scenes, we heard horrible things about me because I made that statement. But guess what? 99% of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses now have no problem saying, yep, the Watchtower Bible Tract Society practices legalized human sacrifice through their no blood policy.
Well, like Stephanie mentioned in her email, her second brother disappeared.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything to try to find him or help him.
Right.
And we have heard so many cases. I used to have a documentary on our channel where a teenage girl was taken by her father, JW father, away from the mom and moved to another country and was basically trafficked from family to family and back to the States, and YouTube took it down for a copyright violation. But I mean, that was really good because it shows that, yeah, most people, especially Jehovah's Witnesses, most Jehovah's Witnesses do not know the terminology or the law about trafficking.
Right.
Even ex-JWs don't know. You cannot go and pick up someone who says I'm being abused, you can't go to their state and pick them up and take them to another state across state lines. That's trafficking.
That's trafficking.
Your intentions may be all, great and pure, but that is a federal offense.
Right.
So,
There again, there's so much for people to learn. A lot of people don't want to do it.
we've learned a lot in 12 years.
Oh my goodness. Well, here again, just a side topic. Get yourself Black's Law Dictionary and look up how many definitions there is to the word person. So when you're in a court of law and you arbitrarily throw out the word person, you need to go, I object. Which definition of person in this context are we going to settle on? Is it definition number 1, definition number 2, definition number 3?
Well, it goes along with what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Okay? The word coercion.
Coercion.
And cult. Everybody has a different definition and opinion about what it is. Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe they are in a cult. Oh,
Right.
well, we don't have one leader. Our leader's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So we're not a cult. But
So-
yet they do all of the legal definitions of a cult apply to them.
Right. So, I mean, there's so much involved with this. Not one group, not one person like Steve Hassan can truly identify what cult identity is, because it encompasses a much larger concept.
Yeah. And we have been hearing some things that there's going to be something major, not in JW world, but in this country here pretty soon in October. And there's going to be a documentary. But I just want to bring it up because Watchtower and their systemic abuse problem is one little tiny drop in an ocean. It's a very small part of a larger problem.
Yeah.
And when Mike and I realized that there was a bigger picture, we started seeing all of these connections.
Yeah.
And Fritz Springmeier, he's really good at making these connections. So you can go on YouTube and just put in Fritz Springmeier, and he makes a lot of these connections. And it's going to be interesting the next couple of months to see, what's going to happen. Because we're just sitting back making popcorn and going to watch the show.
But hey, what do we know?
Yeah, we're old senile conspiracy nutters. What do we know? And apparently all I do is sit on my ass eating bonbons, I don't have any results for everything I've been doing for 12 years. You know what? I don't need results. I don't need results. And the biggest thing is I don't owe anybody anything. So for this person to say, what do you have to show for your results? It doesn't matter what results. I don't have to prove myself to anybody because I don't owe anybody anything.
And we don't need to write a book to have a self-identification of ourselves either.
Because you know what? These cards, thank you everybody. All of
you.
these cards and emails and phone calls and comments under our videos, that is all the results I need.
That's all I need.
We don't need money. We're retired, we're on a pension. We don't need, to pat ourselves like Mike mentioned. We don't have to be saviors. We don't have to be messiahs. We don't have to, make anybody do anything. Because when somebody starts demanding us to do something, like read this statement I've written,
Cult.
no. I have been told what to do for the entire 49 years I was a JW. No more. Do not tell me what to do. You can ask, and I might, but do not demand or tell me I have to do anything. Because then I can get a little prickly like a cactus and defensive.
or to stroke your own ego by saying, what results do you have from all this work that you've done in all these past years? That's nothing but you stroking your own ego. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Remember
Just gotta laugh.
who you're dealing with and how long we have been doing this and how much study and research we've done in even sociology.
Yeah, our daughter gave us her college books, so we have all
Yeah.
these books down here on the sociology.
Yeah, we've
and
got
it's deep. It's deep.
again, this is for me, friends, why I've had it up to here with this.
Yeah, we know. I'll threaten them.
There you go.
Yeah, do a video with me or you make your own meals.
Right. Yeah, there we go.
So thank you so much for watching, everybody. We appreciate, all the views and comments and stuff, because that shows us the results of the good we have been doing. And we don't have to get laws changed in every single state. And I just have the feeling that eventually the high-ups at Watchtower... Oh, and I just remembered something. It isn't just the governing body. Yeah, they should be held criminally responsible. But you forget who their puppet master really is. It's the board of directors in Pennsylvania. Those are the ones that have to be charged criminally.
Also. Yeah.
So but see, many don't know about that.
Right. So you're taking on an endeavor that you don't have a clue how deep and how systemic this issue truly is and who they're connected to politically.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So thank you, everybody. We love you, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Bye.